Hi, this class is all about the poem The Brook, which is written by Alfred Lord Tennyson and which is a very wonderful poem. And I'll just try to tell you because this question is there in your mid examination. I'll just try to tell you how best you can write an effective answer to the poem called Brook and how do you need to answer, like, stepwise, or how do you need to analyze the poem, etc. But before that, I really want to share my screen, and this is all about the poem which I'm trying to show you. Hope my screen is visible, and this is something called, The Brook, written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And you can look some images of the brook here, where, we can get the meaning of the word the brook is just a small water stream. So you can observe these kind of images when we are traveling and when we are, making some journeys, etc. Well, before I start the poem exactly, I just want to talk about Alfred Lord Tennyson, who is a very, very famous poet in the 18th century because he started writing poetry very effectively. Especially, he used to concentrate on nature. Not wasting much of our time, we just will move on to the first stanza. And this is how your first stanza looks like because you know you can look at these four lines, which are very, very interesting. And when it starts with the letter I, which means the poem itself is in the first person narrative. Say, for example, the brook itself is talking about its journey. The small water stream is talking about its journey, like where it comes from and where it goes and what is its plan, what is its other areas when it is traveling, is something which is the most important part, which need to be taken care when we are going through this poem. So look at the first stanza, which is really talking about the start of its journey. Say, for example, it started with, I come from haunts of coot and hern, I make a sudden sally and sparkle out among the fern to be cut down a valley. It is clearly telling that it started its journey from haunts of coot and hern. Here you can look at the pictures and the images of these birds called hern. This is a water bird. Now the brook started telling us that it is coming from the place where coots and herns generally live. And I make a sudden sally. If you observe the meaning of this word sally, it is given in your textbook very clearly. Now, sally is nothing but a sudden movement out of a hidden place. If you observe water, it is really very interesting because water comes out very sudden from a place where it is not visible for a few minutes of time. And here, if you observe the word called horns, it is similarly a bird, or it is something like a water bird where we talk about. And haunt is nothing but where someone wants to spend some time lonely. Now the brook is telling us that I am coming from a place where people want to spend lonely, and that place is of hoot and hern, where these two are called as water birds. And I make a sudden sally. Now, when I say I make a sudden sally, if you really look or observe the style of the water moving, it comes out suddenly and sparkle out among the fern. Now, here, if I see this, what is the meaning of the word sparkle? So, you can observe the picture of the fern here. This is the picture of the fern, which is a grassy plant like. And when you really observe the water flowing in the stream, you can observe that sparkle. It shines on that particular grassy plant to be cut down a valley. Now, it says that I really want to move on to a valley with lot of arguments because, I may not be explaining so poetically, but it is really worthful stanza. When we talk about the first stanza, here the first stanza is exactly talking about where the brook started its journey. It is coming from the haunts, like a place where people wants to spend some lonely time. And it is coming from where the water birds are living. And it starts giving a sudden movement and it shines on the grassy plants and it is trying to argue down with the valley. Now, if you observe this stanza too, it is also talking about the continuation of its journey. Look at this. So, when we started talking about this, I started my journey from this place and I am continuing my journey with this connection or with this connectivity of the place. Say, for example, by 30 hills I hurry down or slip between the ridges, by 20 thorps a little town, and half a hundred bridges. Now, if you see this stanza, it is telling now the moment it started its journey, where it is continuing its journey. Now, it is telling that by 30 hills, what are hills like, so it's the Brook is trying to make us understand that it is really connecting all these hills and it is coming down that particular place. And it is, the second line talks about I slip between the ridges. Now, the meaning of the word ridges is there in your textbook, saying that, a small, narrow kind of places where it really passes on. By 20 thorps, a little town, and a half a hundred bridges. So you can see that, Thorpe is nothing but a small village. Now, here you should understand that when the Brook started its journey, it started from the place where people want to spend some time lonely, and it started touching all the areas, and then it continued its journey by these hills, by these ridges, by these villages, and half a hundred bridges. Now, if you really observe while traveling to Rajahmundry or while traveling to Hyderabad or something or the other, we can see some river passing on when we travel in the train, which is named as Godavari. Like, when this particular river passes on, it meets hundreds and hundreds of bridges. That is the same thing the Brook is trying to talk to us. So, in the first stanza, you can understand very clearly that the Brook started explaining where it started its journey. And in the second stanza, it is telling that where it is continuing its journey. And when we look at the third and the fourth stanza, it's as clear as such. Where will it stop its journey, or till where it is moving on? Now it is clearly telling that till last by Philip's farm I flow to join the brimming river. Now, if I say brimming river, full to the context, I mean completely. So I'm just trying to join the river by making my journey in all these areas, by moving on in all these places. I'll definitely move on to the final destination, that is the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. This is a very wonderful line, because it clearly says that men may come, men may go, but I go on forever. It shows that the journey of the Brook never ceases or never stops. And of course, if you look at the style of the poem also, look at this word called hern, look at this word called fern. Now, hern, fern, Sally, and valley. Now, these words are called as rhyming words, and Alfred Lord Tennyson made a point very clear that the poem is written with good number of rhyming words. Even in the second stanza, you can observe down and town, ridges and bridges. So this is how you can observe the rhyming words. So let's take a look at the third and the fourth stanza. So till last, where will I go? Because in the first stanza, we know from where it started its journey. In the second stanza, we came to understand what is the areas that the Brook is trying to connect with when it is flowing on. And in the third and the fourth stanza, it is telling that, I'll go to my final destination, and my final destination is the brimming river. And I am 101% clear that men may come, men may go, but I go on forever. So, I don't know. Here, in the sense, like, it is telling that man can be alive or he dies. I am not very much concerned with, but my journey to join the brimming river continues forever and ever. And in the fourth stanza, you can see what is it doing while making its journey. Now, the poet here tried to really make us understand that He's clearly pointing out what does it do, because when we are making our journey, or when we are doing our journey, we'll make a number of things, to engage ourselves. So here, what is the brook doing? Now it says that I chatter over stony ways. You know what is chattering? You know, when the water is flowing on, it touches here and there some stony kind of ways. So the sound it makes when it touches these stones or small little trebles and pebbles. Now the sound which comes when this water is touching these particular kind of elements is really interesting. I again repeat, the fourth stanza is telling that what is the brook doing while making its journey. It says that I chatter with whom? The stony ways, in little sharps and trebles. What a wonderful line is this! Because, when we listen music, I think if you are music lovers, you know what is sharp, what is bass, and what is treble. We will adjust in the music equalizer. So when we put, or when we increase the volume of treble, the voice will be sharp. When we increase the volume of bass, the voice will be a kind of balance. So you can observe this kind of equalizers in the music system. Similarly, here the Brook is also telling that when I touch these stones here and there, my sound will be sometimes very sharp, sometimes very bass, and sometimes very treble. So this is how I normally travel, or I normally talk to people, or no, talk to the stones around me. I bubble into eddying bass. I babble on the pebble. So what else I do? Here, eddying bass is nothing but a circular way. See, if you look at this particular picture, now here the picture, you can observe the style of the water here. It don't carry a proper shape while traveling. Sometimes it travels in circular manner, and sometimes it really babbles on the pebbles. Babble in the sense to make some noise. Pebbles are small stones. What a wonderful lines the poet really wants to talk about in the third and the fourth stanzas. That's why those days writing poetry is an art, and Alfred Lord Tennyson has written it in a very, very wonderful manner. I again want to make a point clear. The first stanza is talking about from where it started its journey. The second stanza is talking about what are the areas that it covered while doing its journey. The third and the fourth stanzas are talking about, what is it doing while making its journey. So, moving on to the next stanza, stanza number 5, what other things will happen when I'm making my journey? With many a curve, my banks are fret, by many a field and fallow. If you really observe this, fallow is something, fallow is a piece of land that has been plowed but left without being sown with crops. So, with other areas, what do I touch? No, I touch curves, I touch fields, I touch lands, and many a fairy foreland set with willow, mead, and mallow. Look at these pictures and the style of the brook, because we don't know what is the style that it really passes on. And look at this particular picture, which is really talking about the willow, weed, and mallow. Willow, weed, and mallow is nothing but these are some water plants which will be on either sides of the way where the brook is passing on. So you can see this passage. So this is all, that grassy structure, that greeny structure which will be there on the stones, that is called as weed and mallow. So in stanza 5 also, the brook is trying to tell us that, I will be contacting these banks or fields or lands, or fairy foreland set. Fairy foreland set is nothing but a place where there are number of flowers and other interesting things with willow, weed, and mallow. So this is all about stanza 5. Moving on to stanza 6 and 7, it's again one and the same. I chatter as I flow to join the brimming river. This particular two line you can observe in stanza 3, if I'm not wrong, and it is telling that my final destination is to join the brimming river. And again, it is telling men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. And finally, it is also telling I wind about and in and out with here a blossom sailing. Oh my God, this is again a very wonderful line because I move on. I move on in and out. If you really pour some water, sometimes when you push water, it moves in and it moves out. Sometimes it comes like this. Again, we'll try to push water. And with a blossom sailing, this phrase is a very wonderful phrase where it is talking about the flowery textures, because in water we see number of flowers falling down, and we can also observe that the water is completely filled with floods. And while we are talking about this particular concept, it is going on in and out with here a blossom sailing, and here and there a lusty trout, and here and there a grayling. What a wonderful writing style. Now lusty trout and grayling are nothing but the fish that you can see on the pictures. Now this is a grayling and this is a lusty trout. Here in stanza 7, it is trying to tell what extra things it is doing while traveling to join the brimming river. It is telling that I move in, I move out, I travel with floods. I sometimes see when I'm traveling, I sometimes see a lusty trout, and sometimes I also see a grayling, which are called as fish. And these are the things that it is talking about. And stanza 8, here you can see the picture. Sometimes I'll be like a foamy flake, and sometimes I'll be like a silver water break above the golden gravel. Now here it is clear that sometimes the shape of the water will be like this. Look at this picture. You can see some foams on the water, and it says that sometimes I'll be like this foamy flakes, and when I travel. Okay. And stanza 9 again, see, and draw them all along and flow to the join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. This is once again a repeated version that it is telling that. Now, again, my final destination is all about joining the brimming river. And again, it's trying to tell men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. And in stanza 10, it is telling that I steal by lawns and grassy plots. Now, here you can see that, it's clear in the textbook, like, I really travel again by these lawns and some grassy plots, hazel covers. Now, all these are beautiful. See, look at these trees here on the picture. Now, again, these are the areas where the brook is coming into contact with. I move the sweet forget-me-nots. If you really know, sweet forget-me-nots are nothing but the flowers where couples usually like, and they really wanted to gift them to their beloved. Like touch me not plant. If you really know what is a touch me not plant, you'll understand what is a sweet forget me not. It's just like a flower, and it is telling that look at this. I go by lawns, I go by grassy plants, I go by hazel covers, I move the sweet forget me nots that grow for happy lovers. Stanza 11 is a wonderful stanza. It's saying I slip, I slide, I gloom, I glance. So the style of the flowing of this water is sometimes in different. Sometimes it slips, sometimes it slides, because when it moving on the mountains or the hills, it slides. It slips when it is flowing down. Sometimes it hides itself and suddenly it comes out. These are certain styles of the water flowing. And it says that I make the netted sunbeam dance. This is a question where you are going to answer. I make the netted sunbeam dances. Look at this picture. When the sun rays fall on the water, by this flow of water, when the flow of water is like this and the sun rays are falling like this, obviously the sun rays are also flying. I mean, dancing. That is what it is trying to. I murmur under moon and stars in brambly wilderness. I linger by my shingly bars. I lot around my crisis. So it says that, I sometimes move on, do a soft, continuous sound under moon. Say, for example, if it is night time, there will be a relaxing music. Sometimes I feel very much stressed and I say stress-free music. Most of the times I listen this water music, which gives a lot of peace and calmness to my mind. So it is telling that if it is moon, I murmur, means I make a less sound. In brambly wilderness means, brambly is some kind of harsh root, thorny root, and I linger by shingly bars. I loiter around my cresses. So these are all the places that it is trying to talk about. And slide 13 is again talking, whatever it is, I want to reach my destination. Men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. So this is all about the poem, my dear students. So in the first stanza, it talked about the start of its journey. In the second stanza, it talked about with what it is getting in contact with. In the third stanza, it is talking about its destination. In the fourth stanza, it is talking about what will it do while traveling. In the fifth stanza, it is also talking about what are the things that it meets while doing the journey. In the sixth stanza, again, it repeats that men may come and men may go, but my journey will continue forever. In the seventh stanza, it is talking about the contacts of some fish and also some flowers while it is traveling. In the eighth stanza, it is telling that, the shape of me will be a bit different. In the ninth stanza, again it is talking about men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. In the 10th stanza, again it talks about what are the things that it is getting in contact with. In the 11th stanza, it is talking about the style of its flow. And in the 12th stanza, again it is telling what does it do under the moon and stars, and finally what does it mean. And again in the 13th stanza, it winds up telling that my final thing is, my destination that I need to go. Men may come and men may go. So this is all about the poem, The Brook. Now the main important concept is, what do you need to write in the exam? Say, for example, I see your textbook and I have 4 questions plus 2 essay questions. The best part of writing the answer to the Brook is answer to the point. I repeat, please answer to the point. But whatever question is asked, make sure that you're writing the introduction to the author. I mean, your answer must be in such a way that you should write something on the introduction, the main question that is asked, and finally the conclusion, which fetches you really very, very good marks. Say, for example, any question, let it be any question from the Brook, make sure that you're writing the introduction to the author, because I believe that the question will be more of 7 marks or 8 marks or max, minimum it starts with 5 marks and ends with 8 marks. So write your answer according to the mark asked. So your first way of writing the answer is give a small introduction to the author like this. Say, for example, Alfred Lord Tennyson is a famous 19th century English poet who wrote the Brook, and it was really good at using words to create beautiful pictures and emotions in his poems. And if you look at these two side headings that is there in your textbook, page number 44, question number 1 and 2, what kind of landscape is described in the first stanza? What are the types of water bodies and plant life? Look at these things. Please do not get confused. I'm trying to tell you how best you can answer your question. The first thing that you can do is write the introduction to the author. The second thing that you have to do is answer to the point. For example, if the question is, what is the landscape mentioned in the poem? Just write this answer like this. Or what are the types of water bodies and plant life that is asked? You just write like this. And finally, you close your question with a conclusion. Hope you're able to understand what I'm trying to tell you, or I'm just trying to show you whatever question is asked, please write down the introduction, which talks about all about the, the poet, and answer to the question, but I want it to be in a side heading. Say, for example, landscape mentioned in the poem, and keep it as a side heading. And finally, the conclusion. Now, if you really write your answer like this, following this strategy, I really can promise you that you'll get good marks. That's the reason I'm just trying to show you. This is your page number 44, question number 1. What kind of landscape is described in the first three stanzas? Look at this. We discussed already. Brook flows with meadows, trees, surroundings. The landscape is like painting that shows the changing scenes as the brook goes on its journey, etc., etc. And the types of water bodies that we discussed is, you look at this: small streams, bigger pools, various plants, willows, forget-me-nots. So, these things will really help you to write your answer much better. Questions 3 and 4 from the same page 44. Explain the line, I make the netted sunbeam dance. So here it is very clear that the poet says the brook makes the sunlight on the water look like it's dancing. So this is something where you can talk about this particular point. Question number 4, which is a frequently asked question: what is the mood of the poem? You can write the mood of the poem. At first, it is joyful and carefree because we can see the dance of the brook. But as the poem goes on, it becomes more thoughtful and serious. And it makes us think about how life keeps moving and time never stops. So this is the mood of the poem. And we can say it started with a cheerful tone and ended with a sad ending. But whatever it is, it wants to reach its destination. See, I'm just giving you a clue here to write your or to frame your answers. Putting them in a proper order and in a logical order is up to you. And this is men may come and men may go. This is also a question in the same page 44. What is the meaning of this? I told you very clearly, people might appear and disappear, but as a brook, I keep on flowing because my final objective is I just want to reach the brimming river. That's it. And conclusion. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Finally, you put a conclusion that the brook is a beautiful poem that talks about nature's beauty, the passing on time, etc., etc. And again, I'm just trying to show you whatever the question is, please do not mix up all the points which makes the evaluator get confused. So do one thing, write the introduction again. This is all about the introduction I'm trying to do. Yeah, all about the author and the specific question which is asked in the question paper, and finally close with a conclusion. So it makes your answer very, very effective, and this is how I think you can answer the Brook. So that's all, my dear students. So if you still have more queries, I think you can contact me on this particular number so that I can really clear off all your queries about any other concept which you have from the textbook called Pathfinder. Thank you so much.